So I get that if you're just going through the test and you see a question like this, you might just be like, this isn't worth my time. I'm going to skip it. There's way too much reading. I'm going to be confused. But they're talking about like a survey. And if we know the way that this game is played on the SAT, we kind of know what a right answer is going to look like before we even read the questions. Generally speaking, we kind of want to use some of the strategies we use for the reading here. It kind of looks like a reading question. We're going to behave like it's a reading question. So what does that mean? We need to stay away from strong words and strong choices. If we conduct a survey, we're not allowed to make really broad conclusions or make assumptions based on that data. We got to kind of stick to whatever it was we surveyed, whatever we asked people. So that's kind of what you want to have in mind as you look through these choices. Let's just try to understand the story first. For the finale of a TV show, viewers could use either social media or a text message to vote for their favorite of two contestants. The contestant receiving more than 50% of the vote won. An estimated 10% of the viewers voted, and 30% of the votes were cast on social media. Contestant 2 earned 70% of the votes cast using social media and 40% of the votes cast using a text message. Based on this information, which of the following is an accurate conclusion? Okay. If all viewers had voted, contestant 2 would have won. We just don't know that because we only have information about the people who did vote. I don't know what the people who didn't vote are thinking. I have no idea. So, gone. And notice strong words. All viewers. That's not great, right? That kind of lumps everybody in. We want to try to avoid strong phrases. B. Viewers voting by social media were likely to be younger than viewers voting by text message. Well, that may be true, but I have no evidence of that, right? Nothing in this passage talked about the age of the voters, so that doesn't make sense. C, if all viewers who voted had voted by social media instead of by text message, contestant 2 would have won. Well, again, we got that phrase all viewers, so that's risky. We can't generalize necessarily. But let's think about what that's suggesting. So contestant 2 won 70% of the social media vote, but only 40% of the text vote. So obviously, the people who liked contestant 2 tended to vote using social media more. But it doesn't necessarily mean, in fact, it doesn't mean at all, that if the people who voted by text had just voted by social media, their opinion would have changed, right? It's not that, like, if they had voted on social media, they would have decided that they liked the other contestant, right? The 60% of people who voted for contestant 1 on text message, why would they have changed their vote if they had gone on social media instead? Texting versus social media does not affect who you vote for, right? So that conclusion is bad. That's bad logic. It doesn't make sense because the votes are the votes. It doesn't matter how the vote is cast. 70% using social media voted one way, 40% using a text message voted the other, or voted that way too, but 60% didn't. And there's 60% aren't going to change their vote if they were only allowed to vote on social media. So no one is changing their vote based on how they vote. So that leaves us with D. Viewers voting by social media were more likely. That's not a strong phrase. That's a good, nice little weak phrase. They were more likely to prefer contestant 2 than were viewers voting by text message. And yes, that's true. The people who voted by social media, 70% of them liked contestant 2, where only 40% of the text people liked contestant 2. So if you were to randomly choose a social media voter, 7 out of 10 times, that voter would have voted for contestant 2. So the odds are good, very good, that they liked contestant 2. Whereas if you randomly chose a text voter, only 4 out of 10 times are they going to like contestant 2. So when we talk about more likely, that's what we mean here, is that we're kind of like sampling the sample. And so this is a good model of how these survey questions tend to work is the correct answer is almost kind of just like a restatement of the passage. It doesn't say more. It doesn't make assumptions. It's just kind of restating what we already knew. So don't be intimidated by these. I think that they end up being easier a lot of the time than they might seem at first. Just look for the answer choice that is like the weakest conclusion, that doesn't add more to the passage than is there. You're really just supposed to kind of read this and follow the instructions and stick to what's told to you. That's all. So the strong words, it's a reading strategy, and this question kind of looks like a reading question. So no surprise that the reading strategy helped, even though it's the math section. That can happen.